On today's show, we're going to teach you how to 10x your writing with ChatGPT and Claude's brand new features. We're also going to share a revelation we had live on the show that transforms the quality of your AI writing. And as a bonus, we gave away a business idea where you can make 10, 20, 30 grand a month using AI for writing. There's so much in today's show. We are pumped. Let's get into today's episode. Kieran, you love writing with AI. You had a really cool app that you launched for a little bit that let people create writing styles and generate really cool LinkedIn posts. And it was so cool that Claude copied you. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is that one of the things you did was create kind of a manual way of creating writing styles. And Claude has launched that as a feature.
So people might remember I used to have this way of creating these different types of writing styles. And so the app would basically allow you to upload content and then take that content and create a writing style. And then you could replicate that writing style for any post. Again, to make sure people understand how to use these things. You do not copy and paste everything. You use this as a way to accelerate your learning. How do I actually edit this thing and make it my own? It works really well. And so one of the cool things that Claude added was the ability to create and edit styles in two different ways. And so you can see I already have some styles here: an innovation storyteller, the marketing satirist, and innovation architect. I can go through some of those. But what it basically does is, if you want to create a custom style, you now have two ways to create this style. You can basically add a write-in example, or you can describe the style, and I'll go into describe the style. But for the write-in example, this is on my list of things to read today. It's from a company, I'm talking to the founder, called Rocks, and Packy McCormack does really great company breakdowns.
Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to Packy's Not Boring, you should. It's a really great
awesome
newsletter.
The thing I was interested in is, can you teach the AI to do like any kind of company you want and basically do a Packy McCormack breakdown, right? Obviously it would take more than one post. You would scrape the content. That's how I normally do it, but we're just going to do it very manually here. We're going to take his content. We're going to add the write-in example. We're going to just paste it in, and then we're going to have it create the style. So it takes a little bit of time. Now, I will say, if you look at my one, I think my one is a lot more comprehensive than what you'll see Claude do. But I can show you how you can actually get to a version that's more similar to this versus this is like the easy way to do it. So,
but hold on. First, I'd like to say, you like, this takes some time. It took about 30 seconds to copy somebody's writing style. What kind of demented world are we living in? We're like, oh, this takes a lot of time. Before, you could have said, hey, it'll take 3 days. We would have been like, really? That sounds amazing, right? We're just so jaded.
This is, again, one of the things you and I talked about when we talked about this at Inbound, just AI in general, was how much of an accelerated learning tool it is, because you can extract and play around with styles until you find your own. Now, again, I do come back to like, this is the style: craft deeply analytical narratives that strategically unpack complex technological and business transformations. So it's I don't know if it's that comprehensive, and I want to go through the manual way because it can make it more comprehensive. Well, look at my one, right? I had key principles. I had much more detail. So what I'm showing for our RSS listeners is the writing style that I used has key principles at the top. Then it will go into detailed guidelines. So it'll say, keep it concise, and actually talks about the exact writing format, right? Use short, punchy sentences. Aim for one idea per line. Break long paragraphs into single sentences. Hook and close powerfully. Start with a bold statement or intriguing question. End with a clear call to action or a thought-provoking question. Here, it kind of just says, it's somewhat basic, right? This is really just a prompt, but it's still good enough for most people to start to use. And so let's say we would basically come down here. Now we have this Insight Weaver, which is actually a cool name.
I think it's actually pretty good at naming things.
Please do, what company do we like to do? Please do I'll tell you what, let's keep it topical to our opener. Let's do MicroStrategy. Please do
a little conversation about how crypto's back, baby.
Strategy breakdown of MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy is Michael Saylor's company, the one who keeps buying all the Bitcoin.
Yes.
Which, if you talk to Jason Calacanakis, it's a pyramid scheme. It will take that and do a complete deep dive.
It's a pretty good deep dive. I mean, you would rewrite it and reprompt it some, but it's not a bad first draft.
In August 20, let's see, is it picked out anything in dual identity strategy? What makes MicroStrategy perfectly fascinating is how they've managed to maintain this dual identity. enterprise software business, which no one really knows about, right?
No, literally
continues
no
to
one.
innovate in AI machine learning, and then Bitcoin treasury strategy. Use debt financing to acquire Bitcoin, maintain a long holding position, provide institutional investors with Bitcoin exposure through public markets. So that is like the weirdest company strategy.
Weirdest business strategy of all time.
Ever. It's got the risk reward paradigm, financial strategy breakdown. So it's got some stuff in here.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
It'll be pretty good. All right, so that's like, so now you have this style that can kind of do a little bit of what Packy does for any company you want to add. The other way you can do this, which I think is somewhat interesting, you can also do this manually. So you can create custom style and you can describe the style instead, which I actually think is a better way to do it.
Yeah, you think this is how you get a better result?
Yeah, I think this is how you get
use.
a better results. Edit style manually.
The UI is interesting. It's like they're trying to make it both easy and like in depth.
Okay, so it does have the counterintuitive stuff in here. So it is all in here. Write a style that challenges conventional wisdom and presents unexpected solutions. Use clear. Okay, engage in language. This looks pretty good. All right, let's use this. Right. So let's take a popular topic. Let's write a post for entrepreneurs on why SEO is dead and they should grow through influential media. See what comes out with anything cool. So it should basically do something counterintuitive, and it should do something for seed and seed and pre-seed stage companies. All right, so let's see. Picture yourself as an archaeologist in the year 2040, excavating the ruins of early digital marketing. Among the artifacts, you find countless SEO guides. Wow. The uncomfortable truth about AI. Remember when you last searched for something, not a quick fact check, but real guidance on decision that mattered? Did you trust the first website that Google suggested? Blah, blah, blah.
Why traditional SEO is like building on quicksand is a nice little spicy digs.
You're not competing against you're racing against AI that's getting smarter by the day. True. Traditional SEO suffers from three failures: for diminishing returns. The cost of competing for valuable keywords has skyrocketed. True. Trust deficit. Users have developed sophisticated BS detectors. Algorithm volatility. One Google update can erase years of work. The rise of influential building bedrock.
This is very good, actually.
Yeah, you could definitely play around and do something good. The only thing I will say, it has not tailored it for the audience. It hasn't like tailored it for pre-seed and seed stage companies or entrepreneurs. This should have been for entrepreneurs, seed and pre-seed stage. So anyway, okay, how would I use this? Well, the way I would use this is like, think about the styles that you want to use for each platform that you are. Oh, here we go. It's doing it now. You've raised your pre-seed. You have 12 to 8 months of runway, and everyone's telling you to invest in SEO early. Here's why they're wrong and what you should do instead. Okay, this is far better. The hidden cost of SEO that no one see how it's actually. One thing I would say here is like, just pay attention to, because it's for entrepreneurs now.
Yeah.
Like, it has picked up in the audience. Look how much more direct. To the point it is.
The more specific you are with your prompting and your strategy for the AI, it gives you radically different content.
So this is actually a far better audience. And look how it's actually scaled. The actual tactics it's suggesting are things that a early stage company could do. The other article was not tailored because they were like, build a community and all these things that only large companies would do. Here it's got doing podcast, going on LinkedIn and Twitter, creating collaborative content with startups in adjacent spaces, pretty good. Look for gaps between what everyone in your industry is saying and what actually is true. Very good. The content cascade method. What's this? Instead of writing SEO-focused blog posts that sit on your website waiting to be discovered, start with a provocative LinkedIn post, turn engagement into Twitter threads, expand winning threads into newsletter content, transform best newsletters into podcast pitches, convert podcast appearances into case studies. Wow. Maybe I should actually ask it how to do marketing.
Kieran's like, I'm done here.
Yeah. This is very good. All right. So you can, wow, it's given a whole 30-day media influence sprint for founders. I mean, this is fucking great.
This is really good.
This is really
we
good.
might have to publish this as like a companion piece of content to this episode. Look, we all love ChatGPT. You've probably used it before, and if you haven't, stick around because you're going to want to listen to this. You know, I've used AI a ton. I use ChatGPT for research, for writing. I use Claude to put guides together for whether I'm taking a trip or I'm working on a project at work. It's awesome. Well, I've got something that will make ChatGPT an even better experience for you. We've got this killer ChatGPT bundle that will take your prompting to the next level. It has over 100 prompts and a step-by-step guide to integrate it across your workflow. It is a total game changer. If you want it, I'll drop a link in the description below. Now let's get back to today's show.
Okay, so what did we learn here? It really does matter who you say your audience is. Look how much it changed when I said give it a reminder of who the audience is. So when you're playing around with your style, I would think about the content platform. Is this a top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, and who the audience is, the exact segment. And I would actually give it the buyer persona. If you have a content persona, buyer persona, I'd actually give it the slide of who that person is. That's what I'm going to do next is actually, because we have that, right? Like at HubSpot, we actually have a whole write out of who our audience is. And so what I'll do is create a style for that person. And I think it will be really, it's going to create content exactly matched for that person. So I think that's the real strength here.
I couldn't agree more. Like you essentially have the ability to create a style. And what we're really saying is if you take some time and craft your style, but then also match that style with the right like topic and audience, that's when you're really going to unlock really good writing.
Right.
Like if you just do one of any of those, it's going to be kind of meh. But when you stack those together, that's where you're giving the AI enough context and detail that it can really craft something good.
So ChatGPT 4.0 added new creative writing skills. And so they added it recently. I can't remember who, I've got it on my bookmarks, where someone from OpenAI tweeted about how good now it is for creative writing. So let's give it the same task, right? We can say, I want you to create a writing style guide for this content that allows me to easily replicate it for any post where I want to do a company deep dive in this way. And so then we will give it the post from Packy. Sorry, Packy, for creating a whole podcast about how people can rip you off.
You off. No big deal.
There you go. It's the price of being successful. Okay, so let's see here. So I actually did play around with this when it did come out, and it did create a better, more detailed style guide than Claude. I did notice that. So you can see it's gone into real details here. If you're not looking at our screen, you really should jump onto YouTube, but it's got like a real breakdown of tone and voice.
Yeah.
Like look how much it's used.
Way different.
I love the
way
way
more detail.
Yeah, I love the way it's picked out the examples. Curious and open-minded, self-aware, humorous but respectful. That's a very good one. Light sarcasm. Like it's really picked up on the nuances here. Structure. This is actually one of the ones that I really wanted, because the thing I really want to start to do is when you take a post, actually extract, basically create exact structure across the post. So the opening paragraph is like how you get curiosity into the open paragraph. Then the second paragraph is how you interweave some excitement. Then the third paragraph is how you drop a knowledge bomb. Like I wanted the exact breakdown, and it started to do that here. So it's giving you a structure, right? Set expectations at the start, establish a personal connection. Geez, this is actually better than mine. Context and background. This is really good. Key themes, deep analysis. Look at the exact. Okay, this is really good. This is really, really good. I'm excited because I'm going to start doing this. All right, so let's do this. Awesome. Can you turn? I have to talk to it like an American, so I have to say awesome. Can you turn this into a downloadable PDF? Can it do PDFs? I can't remember if ChatGPT could do PDFs. I've been working with Claude for so long over the last month. I feel like
are you going to take this and use it in Claude?
I'm going to take this and then I'm going to use ChatGPT to create a deep dive of the same company. Well, not MicroStrategy. We'll pick a different company and see how it compares to what Claude's breakdown was. Why is it taking so long to create a PDF? I don't think it can create PDFs actually, so I don't know why I asked it to do that. I can basically.
Well, it's worth asking.
All right. Oh, it does do PDFs.
Oh.
There you go.
So while you're doing this, what strikes me, Kieran, is that
dope.
When it comes to writing, the Claude like user experience and like the fact that it has some graphical user interface, when ChatGPT is much more manual and much more for like an advanced user. It's like it's like very different audiences these two like writing use cases are kind of tailored to right now.
Yeah, I think Claude was definitely better for writing. I have not used ChatGPT's latest updates for creative writing. I'm very interested to start using it now when I see how well it's created a style guide. Because when you looked at so I'm basically going to ask it to do the HubSpot, Packing McCormick breakdown of HubSpot. When you look at the style guide I started with, the one I was showing you is an example of what my app was creating. I had already picked a template. I had already taught the AI what the writing style should look like. So I said it had to have like these key guidelines. I said it had to break it out this way, that way, this way. I didn't tell ChatGPT anything. I just said, create a writing style guide. Yeah. And it created one in a very similar way that I was like had to teach it to create, had to teach Claude to create. So I think that is pretty interesting. And even I can see straight away the deep dive here. Now, the one thing I've noticed is both of them don't do it. It's not really a deep dive.
No, you want it to be, you want a lot more context than this. This is still pretty surface level. Okay.
So this is not good at all.
It's not as good it's not as good as the Claude one.
No, there's nothing interesting here at all. All right, so I could play around with it. I do wonder why it's so bad, given the deep dive writing guide is so comprehensive, and so I would have to play around with that. But what I would say off the bat, without having, and I have played around with it a little last week. I can't see a huge improvement in writing, but I probably need to use it a lot more. But I will say, pretty great for creating a writing style guide that you could then go use in Claude. And also, I suspect if I play around with it for an hour, I could get it to be really great, but I'm blown away by how good Claude is when you actually add in the audience. Maybe if I say here, can you rewrite this for founders of public companies founders of companies who want to IPO and have HubSpot success. In particular, they are super jealous that HubSpot had Kieran Flanagan working for them.
This is fantastic. Keep going.
All right. So, look at this guy. HubSpot isn't just a software company, it's a movement. And then there's that guy, Kieran Flanagan, their marketing genius who made growth hacking look easy. For founders that question, how do we IPO? How do we do what HubSpot did? How do we build something so sticky, scalable, and inevitable that can attract top talent like Kieran? Oh, I love this. Actually, I might make all of my writing style guides
inclusive
the
of
style guide, and then at the end there's this single thing to praise Kieran Flanagan, even if he was not part of the company. But actually, I will say this: look how much better.
It's better now,
right? The audience thing really matters.
It matters a ton.
And if you give them what the audience want to get from the article, it really matters. So, like, without the funny part of me being added. And yes, part of the jealousy stems from Kieran Flanagan. He is the marketing lead everyone wishes they had, the guy who could grow the company and make it look out. But here's the thing: you don't need Kieran. What? You don't need Kieran Flanagan? Oh, this is actually awful. Don't use ChatGPT. No, but so what did we learn here? Audience matters. What they want to get from the article matters. I think if you start to add the writing style guide, and what I will probably do now is actually pair writing style guide with a pretty comprehensive description of audience. Yes. And I think if you listen to this show and you only take that away of how to use these tools to improve your writing, you're probably going to see more than a 10x improvement. Kieran,
I wonder if a follow-up to this, should we also do some audience guides, just like writing style guides? Do very, very detailed like audience persona, demographic, firmographic breakdowns, and see what that does to quality.
Well, so what I'm going to do, we're going to do a little working session here because I'm actually going to do this. I'm actually going to go and ask the team to pull this for our upmarket segment.
Yeah. We have a ton of data there.
Based upon customer calls and customer emails.
Well, do that plus all the brand survey data.
Yeah, the brand survey data, and then the product marketing, they have the persona. So if I pair the persona with the brand data and then the comms, we can come back and show what the audience would look like.
Yeah, and we should do like one prompt with varying levels of audience detail and see how it evolves it. I'm actually excited. I actually have this reminds me of when I first figured out writing style guides were an unlock. I actually think the audience thing really is I think audience guides are the next frontier on the writing side. Hey everybody, before we continue with the show today, I'm really asking for your help. We want to know what is keeping you away from your goals. As we continue to make shows for marketers like you, we want to make sure that we're hitting the mark. We're putting together our next round of episodes, and we want to make sure that we're addressing all the challenges that you're facing. So we've put together a quick survey to understand your biggest challenges, and we'd love to hear from you. Kieran, I do have to show you this because I did this when we were talking. I was like, oh, we're talking about ChatGPT's new creative writing skills. And I was like, maybe just help me write a screenplay. And I was like, can you write a screenplay about two podcasters who talk about AI and marketing? And there are two friends, one of whom lives in Boston, the other lives in Dublin. They laugh at each other's jokes and people hate it. Because we always get comments on the YouTube that people hate it when we laugh at everything. And it wrote Podception, a comedy dramedy, sorry. And it's great. First of all, my character's named Jesse, and your character's named Liam.
My brother's is Liam.
I know. And it wrote a pretty awful screenplay, which I think is not really good at all. Welcome back, fellow nerds and marketing misfits. Today, we're diving into the sexy, misunderstood world of AI-generated memes.
Sounds exactly like one of our cold opens. This is exactly the way we go.
But it wrote this like...
Their cringe laughter goes viral on TikTok by the caption, "Are they the worst podcasts ever?" Actually, I did see someone on TikTok did say that.
What?
Someone on TikTok did, under one of our posts where we were laughing, did say, "Are these the worst... two worst podcast jerks of all time," or something?
Yes. We're making it. You're not relevant till the TikTokers troll you.
Yeah, troll you. But I actually do. I do have I have a sci-fi book. I actually wanted to try it with one of these as well. I have a fun concept for a sci-fi movie.
But don't you think? But in all seriousness, don't you think you should start working on your sci-fi book now? So that then you can use that as the feed into the 3D world generating
AMs.
Yeah. Like if you do all the foundation and you have the world building and like all the stuff we just showed for like business writing would be amazing for fiction. If you're really clear on, imagine writing very specific fiction for like a very, very specific target audience, and you do it really quickly, and then you buy super cheap clicks on Amazon and other places. Like you could make the math of that work.
Well, you could just go train on some of these forums, fan forums, right? And like if you know the kind of segment you're going after, I suspect I could just go scrape a forum that is a similar what's the word? Genre?
I wonder. In all seriousness, I wonder if we just found the most profitable genre. Whereas like the most people with the least amount of competition so that we could buy Amazon ads at the cheapest price. And all we literally did was churn out like pseudonym fiction in that genre that was like, it was good. We had like somebody do like a professional round of editing. I wonder how profitable that would be. I bet you could make 10, 20 grand a month just doing that.
I think you could. I think there is a business to be made from scraping these kind of niche forums and then have an AI create content that is very personalized to them. Using the kind of, again, writing style guide, audience style guide, and then some sort of, I'm pretty sure there's a way that you can figure out how to build topic style guide, like what topics will work really well. I'm actually, I want to go and do some of this.
Well, hold on. Imagine if we did that. And then as part of and we just all did digital files, but as part of the digital files, you could go and there was like a web app that let you do some basic prompting to personalize the book to you. And then we captured the email and then just did complete remarketing to that group. So we had to stop paying we could stop paying Amazon.
Oh,
you could build a really sick little funnel of
because you're capturing the additional data they give you and the personalization.
Exactly.
Yeah. So one of the, way back in the day, you remember this, like one of the most successful things we did was just when people signed up, we asked them what their biggest marketing challenge was.
Yes.
And just that freeform text alone allowed us to, on the back end, personalize things.
Well,
at
I think
scale.
It's time to bring it back, Kieran, by the way.
I have another. So this is my other thing to you. I have tons of things that I wanted to talk
to talk about.
Yeah,
this is what happens over holidays. We don't talk for a little while because we're trying to spend time with our families and all that kind of stuff.
And then we just got into the AI. The thing I wanted to say we should do is, so the sales team have a initial discovery call. We can basically just ask that question in discovery call, and then AI pull it out and then actually
do all the nurturing and follow up on that.
Yeah, and we're actually using AI to capture a bunch of additional details about companies. And so you can actually you can group these things together in very interesting ways.
Well, and then you can also use it for like closed loss nurturing. If you don't close a deal, right, when do you go back and re-engage that deal?
Re-engage. And what was the biggest problem with that original question was because it was in freeform text and didn't have AI, it was harder to group things together. Now AI can just group all of that together. So you can actually, the other thing is you don't need to use dropdown.
No.
Selection
it's
anywhere.
free text.
You can just use freeform. Yeah, because AI can actually group all that stuff together.
Dude, life's awesome, man. I'm sorry.
Life is awesome.
This is just, man,
So
if you're not appreciating going into 2025, the world we're living in, I got nothing for you. We just did a whole show of breaking down not just how Claude can help you create a writing style in minutes and mimic any writing style you're interested in, but we also really showed how different audience focus can be to that end writing product. And we're going to come back to you with a whole like audience style guide with some testing things that we've learned. Like AI is clearly having a major impact in writing. And like that's starting to really come through. People are not using it enough. And right now, like that book example we just closed the show with, there are just tons of businesses around writing that with some basic AI prompting and automation could be very profitable small businesses.
Episode going live today with Ross Simmons, one of our best we've done. But there's one important thing that we touched upon in there, which is the thing people get wrong is AI is a boom for people with real domain expertise. And so it's not for people who are not good at writing. It's not going to be useful for those to get much better at writing really quickly. It's for people who are good at writing to do 10x more. And that's the thing I still think people are undervaluing.
I literally think we could pick a night of the week and have a different business that we run just that night of that week. And it's like in that 2 to 3 hours, you could run a fictional book business one week, some lightweight gated web apps one day. Like you could, if you were really enterprising, you could make 20 to 50 grand a month with just some basic work.
Productivity gains are going to be huge.
Could not agree more. Okay, we had a blast. It was fun catching up after the holidays. We're recording this right after the Thanksgiving holidays in the States. Hope that everyone is getting through the end of the year grind, closing out the year well, and we'll see you really soon on the next episode of Marketing Against the Grain.
This data is wrong every freaking time.
Have you heard of HubSpot? HubSpot is a CRM platform where everything is fully integrated.
Whoa, I can see the client's whole history, calls, support tickets, emails, and here's a task from 3 days ago I totally missed.
HubSpot. Grow better.